Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
John, we got a lot to cover in this last 14 minutes. I've been doing my show prep. I mean, I'm feeling better every day. What's that Chicago song? Feeling stronger every day.
That was before my time. I don't think I know that one, but I'm ready. I won't interrupt too many times, Brad.
No, you can. You know, I love it when you interrupt. It makes my day. Okay, once again, I'm not trying to say that I know what I'm talking about, but after we got off the air yesterday, I sent John the official article on schmutz, didn't I?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I said it's Jiddish or Jewish or Yiddish.
Jiddish.
Isn't Yiddish the official language is Hebrew, isn't that what it is?
Correct. Yeah, but Yiddish is but if you found a term like, subjugated or kibbutz or something like that, you would say that it's Yiddish.
Right. It's sort of like Jewish slang, so to speak, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Schmutz is a Yiddish word that means dirt or grime. Properly pronounced, it should rhyme with putz, not cuts. It is sometimes spelled S-H-M-U-T-Z or S-M-O-O-T-Z. Metaphorical schmutz, something profane or lewd, can be described with the adjective schmutzig, which functions like dirty in English. Here's an example. Oi, that joke was schmutzig. And then I sent you the quote that the infamous Fauci interview in 60 Minutes. Where did you watch that?
No, but you have the time. You sent me the timestamp. Yeah, I didn't watch the interview.
Okay. And well, I don't know if the guy's I think the guy's name, the interviewer, the correspondent, I think he's Irish or something like that. But they joked about, because they're talking about, Fauci says, you don't need a mask. He says it twice. There's no reason for you to have a mask. And he says, the reason you have a mask is so that expectorant when you cough doesn't hit somebody. And the interviewer says, you mean that schmutz? And they go, yeah, that's schmutz. Okay, I'm going to blow through these in a hurry. Okay, yesterday had to make one of my frequent trips to Washmo, came back on Highway 94. I put this up on my Facebook. I sent you not a Facebook. I sent this on Twitter. I took a time-lapse tour of Klondike Park. John Lamping. I'm not kidding you when I say I've never been in Klondike Park when there's been more than 10 people in the place. Yesterday was a beautiful late spring afternoon. This was about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Temperature's high, but humidity was low. Not a bad day outside. I started at one end of the park. The park, you go into the main entrance, and you go to the right, and it's a big loop around the park, one-way traffic around the park. I put my phone out the window. I put it on time-lapse mode, and I saw no one in the park. I saw 4 cars in one parking area. As you go by, you can briefly see the 4 cars. That was Klondike Park. I'm going there's never anybody in that park. And once again, it's my point that when, and Steve Ellman here right now, man, he'd get an argument with me. Well, Brad, we need these parks. I say, okay, well, why don't you put them somewhere else? Klondike Park was, if I say this to some people go, oh my God, that's the most beautiful park. I'm not saying it's not. It's a cool place. If you know the story behind it, it's an old quarry, an old limestone quarry. But once again, county taxpayers, St. Charles County taxpayers, you're paying for something that nobody uses.
So in your mind, Brad, should the county, and this is a serious question, should the county just sell it off and then people can do whatever they want with it?
Yeah. And you know why?
Why?
Sell it off to a private entity, not to some God Squad operation or something like that, and put it back on the real estate rolls. Put it back on the real estate taxes. Because
I think that you're discounting the amount of carbon that's sequestered by those trees, but you're a noted anti-environmentalist, so go ahead, Brad.
I'm not an anti-environmentalist. You say that about me all the time. I'm Mr. Recycle, okay? I'm the guy. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, here's one that totally drives me nuts, and I'm going to really tick off people this morning with a lot of the stuff I say.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, this story that is on Fox News this morning, and the title is, President Biden had front row seat to dog commander repeatedly biting Secret Service agents. He was walking the dog with Secret Service agents when his dog was attacking the Secret Service agents. Now, John, let's step back for a minute. Let's say he's not Joe Biden, President of the United States. Let's say he's Joe Biden. He lives in Chesterfield. And he's walking through his neighborhood, and he's got his dog, hey, my dog commander. And he bites his next door neighbor, and he bites the kid down the street, and he bites the mailman, and he bites the woman who's jogging on the street by him, and oh, sorry, honey. I mean, first off, the dog would be taken away from him, and he would be under arrest, right?
Within the last week, I read Chesterfield crime reports religiously. It's like a religion to me because I want to see where crime is happening. And 90% of them are urbanites coming to the outlet malls and stealing Tommy Hilfiger clothes. And then the rest are, within the last week, Brad, I have seen 1 or 2 instances of police reports of people getting cited for having their dog go bite someone, their dog attack someone, their dog not on a leash. It's a serious thing.
Right. And not only that, it's to the point where you as a private citizen have the liability if you have that dog. You guess what? There's a bunch of attorneys that, I'm surprised I haven't seen that category advertised on TV. Have you been bitten by your neighbor's dog? You may be.
Yes.
Because of the fact that it's pretty much, like, for example, especially if it's your dog one time has a bad day and he nips at somebody's, knee or something like that, or their ankle or something like that. But yet when you have a repeated incident, documented, that's all the court needs to see. Because of the fact that you are aware of the fact that your dog has a proclivity. Is that the proper word there?
Yep, that's the right word.
Proclivity to put his teeth in the people's flesh. And yet you read this article and it's like, well, it's my dog commander. And you read some of the things, like they've got pictures in here of guys' uniforms. They're wearing, not uniforms, but they're wearing their dress, their three-piece suits and their suits and stuff like that. Matter of fact, it talks about it was sort of a tongue-in-cheek line that one of the positive aspects of the president's dog is that it helped Taylor stay in business in Washington, D.C. because they were repairing the suits.
I didn't know Taylor still existed. I thought they were like shoe cobblers.
Okay, it's here. One Secret Service member shared that his encounter with Commander happened on September 3rd, 2013, while Biden was taking his dog to the Kentucky Garden for an evening walk, or the Kennedy Garden, rather. Quote, as I started to walk toward him to see if he needed help, Commander ran through his legs and bit my left arm through the front of my jacket. I pulled my arm away and yelled, no. POTUS also yelled, redacted, to Commander. POTUS then redacted, I obliged, and the Commander let me pet him. When turning to close the dog, Commander jumped again and bit my left arm for the second time. POTUS again yelled at Commander and attached the leash to him. He added, my suit coat has 3 holes, 1B all the way through. No skin was broken. They talk about guys going to the ER. Once again, as a human being, if you are John Combest and the first time your dog takes a piece of somebody's arm or something like that, aren't you saying to yourself, you know what? Maybe I need to take a long trip out to the country, and this dog needs to sneak out of my car, and maybe I just need to drive back and not have the dog anymore. Or maybe you find somebody out in the country. People made fun of the Christy Nome thing where she shot that dog. If you read the whole crazy weird story, it's because the dog attacked people.
Yeah.
So, and once again, this is life on the farm. People don't understand life on the farm. People don't understand that when you're a cattle farmer, guess what? You're growing that cattle to ultimately be killed. When you're growing pigs,
you're exactly right.
When you're growing pigs to ultimately be killed. When you're growing chickens, ultimately you have two reasons for chickens. You could be wanting them to lay eggs, or you want them to turn into things you buy at Chick-fil-A, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, exactly. But back to the commander thing. Here's where I think you're wrong, though. Is that I was reading Commander's autobiography, and Commander's had a lot of substance abuse problems. So I think that if someone has, a crack cocaine habit, I don't think we can hold them to the same standard, Brad, that we would hold most other dogs.
Okay.
I think clearly you've never had anybody that's, you've never read a dog's autobiography or dealt with a dog that has a substance abuse problem. And you seem to think that we should treat them like other dogs, when really we need to give them a little bit more leeway, Brad.
I read there was something I didn't take notes on it. I didn't save the story, but I remember reading something the last 2 or 3 weeks that USPS, United States Postal Service, put out a survey of the top 10, the top 5 cities where their postal carriers have been bitten by dogs, and St. Louis is either number 2 or number 3. So once again,
nice. And by dogs, do they mean actual canines, or do they mean like generic urbanites? Not
going there, John. Okay, here's the next interesting thing: the gun owners of America, okay, GOA, okay. If you know what's going on, if you're a gun owner, there's all sorts of this controversy about the whole thing with the NRA. The NRA's got lots of issues, and quite honestly, myself included, I used to be an NRA member. I've not been in several years because I think it's another perfect example of a not-for-profit that has just screwed the people that give them money for nothing and turned it into like a luxury club for the executives, and they don't have to, report profits, because in a not-for-profit, you don't have any profits, you have excess, you don't pay any taxes on it, stuff like that. Okay, the gun owners of America, if I can get it out of my mouth, are, guess who they are behind?
I don't have any idea.
Hunter Biden.
Oh, yeah, because of the idea. Now, I've read some really clear-headed and sober comments from a guy named Tony Lavasco, who's an O'Fallon Republican, who's weighed in on why the gun conviction for Hunter Biden really isn't fair, that the government should not be asking these type of questions of gun owners. Is that where this group is going?
Yes, and here's their quote. Gun owners of America believe this underlying law is unconstitutionally broad, but so long as it remains on the books, Hunter deserves no special treatment or mercy. I have referenced this on many times. I don't know if I saved this or not. I will give you the actual question that he screwed up on. This is what they call, this is Form 4473, and if anybody's bought a gun, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is question number 21, and under 21 you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. You don't have O, okay? But under section F, this is what Hunter Biden screwed on. This is question 21F on Form 4473. Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? That's what he answered no to. But what's interesting was, underneath that, there is in bold text, it says, warning, the use of possession of marijuana remains unlawful under federal law, regardless of whether it has been legalized or decriminalized for medical or recreational purposes in the state where you reside. So how many people who maybe even been listening to this show right now could essentially be prosecuted the same way as Hunter Biden?
Yeah, for lying about that. Yeah, for not being truthful on that, for sure.
If the ATF guys sat out in front of one of your local recreational marijuana places, and let's say they just went in and spot checked, and they said, "Hi, we saw you just bought some marijuana. We're here from the federal government. We'd like to see your driver's license. By the way, do you have a concealed carry permit? Do you own a gun?" "Oh, I do." When did you buy that gun?" "Well, I bought it about 6 weeks ago." "Okay, put your hands behind your back." I mean, literally, you violated, and once again, the question would be, have you filled out the form? Well, yeah. And now the interesting part of this is, and having me, once again, full disclosure, bought a gun recently, which I have. Most of the gun stores are gone to what they call the E4473, where you don't even write it out anymore. It's a officially approved PDF version of the 4473, and what you do is they've got it on, it's one of those fillable PDFs you go through, and most of the gun stores, at least the bigger ones now, have a little computer terminal you sit down at, it works on either IBM or Mac, and most of them have like IBM, or some of them have like iPads, and you can go through and they bring it up and dink, dink, dunk, you do all your things, dink, dink, dunk, then they electronically file that with the NC, I think it's not the same thing. I think it's NCIS or NCCIS. It's a division of the FBI, which does all the background checks. And so that's the crazy part of this is, here in St. Louis, there are probably, right at this very moment, there are probably 20, 30, 40,000 people who could be prosecuted under the same law that Hunter Biden was prosecuted and be found guilty as hell. I mean, the whole...
Yeah, and that was also the point of the Post-Dispatch has an editorial that I linked to about that today. I wanted to interject that real quick, Brad, too.
Right. That they're talking about the whole hypocrisy of this?
Yeah, and of course they're praising Delaware's strong anti-gun laws. But yeah, they're talking about the fact that Hunter lied on that application, and many people do.
But the part of this is almost interesting is, once again, under, I don't know if you know this or not, this is actually sort of interesting subtext. I believe under the Barack/Biden administration, they increased the penalty that Hunter got convicted under from 15 to 20 years maximum. So in other words, his dad did him no favors, right? Dad, why did you pass that? Why did you let that bill go through? John, here comes my cough.
You made it through the week, Brad.
Well, I made it through 3 days out of the week. Next week, I'm going to try for a whole week. Now, hold it. That's not possible because don't we have Juneteenth next week?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Let's make a bold call and power through and maybe actually do a show on Juneteenth.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. Unless you want to take the day off, Brad. I know that now celebrating Juneteenth is pretty important to me, but if you think we should power through, then we could do a show on Wednesday.
John, you know what I'm going to do for Juneteenth?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to the White Castle on Natural Bridge, getting myself a #1 with a mix. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, I love it. Boy, you know what? There you go again, flexing your financial health, Brad.
John, talk to you later.
Bye. See you guys Monday.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?